Welcome to Liberal Banter with Liz and Olu. This week we're going to be doing a recap of our year 2024 and also looking ahead to next year and what will happen, we think, with the new administration. So first of all, we did some analysis, and our most listened to episode this year was the episode after the election, which we called America's Brexit moment.
I mean, I wonder why that was the most listened to episode.
I imagine some of you showed up because you are fellow liberal Democrat voters who were disappointed. And it's also possible, just given some of the comments on social media, some of you showed up because you're haters and you wanted to know how we were feeling. I don't doubt both sides contributed to that being the top episode. And it's no surprise given the impact that election is having, even right now.
Yes, I mean, we're seeing some concerning glimpses into what the administration might turn out to be like or do. But, you know, I guess we're trying to be open-minded, and we'll see what's going to come up next year.
I mean, maybe speak for yourself on the open-minded part. I'm fully expecting a shit show. I'm not open-minded at all. I think it's going to be a mess. I mean, he's not even in office yet, right? That's the crazy part. He's already pulling back on promises he made. You know, Elon is already taking over everything. It's going to be a shit show. It's going to be a shit. It's good. It's, as the Democrats promised us, it will be worse than the first time. That seems clear now.
Yes. Kamala tried to tell everyone that. And I guess people didn't believe her, which is their right and their prerogative. And I don't know. I'm being open-minded because, from my perspective, just like Brexit, like, this is what people voted for, right? So, like, you know, let's find out how it's going to work. And that's all I have to say. I understand what you mean. We expect it to be a shit show. But at the end of the day, you know, 51% of this country, or at least 51% of voters, I should say, voted for him. So I gotta hope that they had some insights that we didn't see, right? I don't know.
Yeah, well, I
hope it works out for them.
What I do want to say, and sort of get on the record, so it was 49.9%. I've heard this a lot when people say, and we're not going to recap and rehash the whole election. You know, it happened. But I want to say, like, for the record, it wasn't 51%. The final results were 49.9% for Trump, 48.4% for Harris, and then around 2% for other parties. So
well, I'm rounding up because if you voted for other parties, you voted for Trump. I'm sorry.
Sure.
2 plus 49 is 51%.
but that, I don't think that's the way to look at it. The way I look at it is majority of the voters did not choose Donald Trump. He did not win the majority of the American election.
I see what you mean. You're adding that to, like, the no Trump.
It's right.
I'm thinking that, like, excuse me though, okay, this 2% people, I am sorry, but they played themselves. If the vote is not Trump, then you failed, because, like, clearly your 2% could have gone to, like, Kamala,
the person with 48%.
Exactly. Like, I mean, this is like Jill Stein nonsense all over again.
RFK.
Which we said multiple times was going to happen.
Yep,
right?
Jill Stein and RFK and Chase Oliver, who was the libertarian candidate.
So I guess we're on a divide on this. I understand what you mean, but in my mind, those people also indirectly voted for Trump.
Yeah, you and I are not going to agree on this, but what I think is more important is the fact that the Republicans seem to be operating under the perception that they have a mandate, and they do not. Like, I just want to make it clear. If you're outside the U.S. listening to this, please know 51% of this country did not choose this man, but we are all going to be governed by him and his party. And they are acting as if they have a mandate to do whatever they want. And you can see it based on the people he's nominating, the actions he's taking, the statements he's making. I don't think they realize they didn't actually win the majority of the American voter. And so it's interesting, again, sort of like moving away from the election. Thank you to everyone who listened to that episode. We appreciate you sticking with us since then. If you're new here, welcome. We're going to move on, though, because I think what's more exciting and that we should think through is looking ahead. You know, we already have so far pulling back on promises made leading up to the election. The big story last week for everyone was the groceries. We told you guys, if you listened to an earlier episode, we're going to be talking about the eggs all the time. Trump is saying already there's nothing he can do about the eggs. Cue our shocked Pikachu face.
Yes, this is Egg Watch 2025. I feel like we should have a ticker for the prices of eggs.
We should.
On our website.
We should. We are going to do that. I'm making a note right now. We are going to add a ticker for egg prices. Baseline will be the egg price, average egg price on December 31st, 2024. That's going to be the baseline, because I'm so curious how this is going to go.
Exactly. I mean, you know, everybody loves breakfast, right? So hopefully it goes down.
That's true. Well, most people love breakfast. I know someone who doesn't like eggs. So
oh, yes.
That person will be fine, but the rest of us will not be fine.
Yes, and that is me, listeners. I never had any skin in this game. I don't eat eggs. So
I know, it's so weird. Olu doesn't like eggs. So for her, this is a moot point. But for the rest of us breakfast lovers, we are going to put a ticker for the price of eggs, the price of milk, the price of bread, all the stuff that Trump had at his little press conference where he brought out the Cheerios, all of that. We're going to have a list on our website tracking prices.
Even the apples in the refrigerators. Did you see him talking?
Oh yeah.
He was trying to relate to the average American shopper.
Yeah.
And in his mind, the average American shopper picks their apples from the fridge in the grocery store.
I know, do you think apples grow on trees, Olu? My God. Let's get it together, okay? But
talk about being out of touch and has never been in a grocery store like, in any meaningful way, right? Like, what do you mean she took it out of the refrigerator? She took 3 apples out of the refrigerator, went to the till to check it out, and said, I can only afford 2 apples, walked the 3rd apple all the way back to the refrigerator. I mean, clearly this did not happen, right?
Also, what is a grocery store where they put apples in the fridge? As someone who has actually been inside the grocery store, I've lived in multiple cities in the U.S. I have never seen a grocery store put apples in the fridge.
Listen.
I don't know what y'all. What I want to hear from? I want to hear from the voters. I don't know if you remember leading up to the election or right after, this woman who talked about how she had to count slices of cheese because of the inflation. She was like, I just had to count the slices of cheese in my packet of cheese, and that's why I voted for Trump. And I'm like, I want to know how she's feeling next year. We need to find that lady, track her down, find out if the cheese prices went down. So many questions, so many very specific questions I have on how this is going to go.
That's true. We should have a ticker for her as well, so she can put a bar chart of the slices of cheese that she counts.
Thank you. We are going to add a chart of cheese, milk, egg prices to our website as the days go by. I love this idea. Thank you. I'm so glad we could brainstorm on this call. It's going to be amazing. I actually think that it's fascinating to me what's happening online. So if you follow us on TikTok, we have made a couple of videos about how things are not going to go the way MAGA expects them to go next year. And the comments that we get are hilarious from Trump supporters who say things like, oh, he's just going to lower energy prices and that's going to fix everything. And when we point out to them in replies that gas prices have been dropping for 2 years and still the cheese is expensive, their next response is some variation of, you don't know how the economy works. And I'm like, actually, no. You don't know how the economy works. If you think gas prices going down means that Sargento, a cheese company, is going to lower the price of your sliced cheese, you are sorely mistaken. And your president knows that because last week he pulled back and said it's going to be, quote, very hard to lower prices after they've gone up. Okay, well,
exactly.
We told you. We did tell you. You're not going to see 2019 prices again. But, nobody listens, so...
Yeah, but he knows that the prices are not going to come down because he knows he's not going to do any of the things that the Democratic administration, the Biden-Harris administration was trying to do, right? They were trying to do some anti-price gouging laws. They were trying to reduce some of the exorbitant fees in your hotel bookings and your ticket bookings. And he's going to undo all of that, and he's going to give businesses free rein to continue to screw you over, right? Because that's the philosophy of the Federalist Society that has put in there, right?
And
it's not unfettered profit making.
It's not even just the Federalist Society. Literally, his cabinet is full of millionaires and billionaires. How do you expect them to relate to normal people when they think apples are put in fridge in the grocery store? It's just, you know what I mean? I find it very difficult to believe that Elon Musk understands what the average American is going through when they try to get groceries. I mean, I don't, I think the Democrats tried to present a sort of we are like you party. They put up a candidate that they felt people should be able to relate to because she grew up middle class, had to she went to normal schools. She worked her way up through her career, but people rejected that for multiple reasons. We know there's sexism, there's racism, there's just purely, low information voting. There's so many reasons why people didn't choose Kamala Harris that seemed valid to them at the time. Right. Now, though, moving forward, let's see how that goes. And speaking of Elon, what happened today, right, with the bipartisan budget bill? Yeah. I'm calling it bipartisan, but it was really a Republican budget bill.
Right, that Democrats were, again, because Democrats always do this, right? There were a few Democrats who were actually willing to vote for this bill that Mike Johnson, the Speaker of the House, the Republican Majority Leader, wanted it to pass, right? And Elon Musk, I don't remember anybody casting a single vote for Elon Musk. And somehow he was able to get on Twitter, put out dozens of posts, and suddenly the bill is dead between in the last few days when Elon Musk mounted this opposition to the bill. And a lot of his opposition is complete bullshit. He said that the bill was going to fund bioweapons labs in the U.S.
Imagine.
That's just a blatant lie.
Right.
Right? Just complete, obvious conspiracy, Looney Tunes bullshit. But, this is the era we live in when people can just say whatever they want and people will believe it.
He said that Congress was giving themselves a 40% pay raise, which was inaccurate. It's I think it's 3.8% next year. It's not 40%. I can't believe that this is what MAGA voters wanted. But I say I can't believe, not in I'm incredulous. I'm saying I can't imagine. I mean, they voted for Trump. They did not vote for Elon, right? And some of them, I don't know if you know this, but some MAGA people are racist.
Oh,
and
no.
they see him, I know, shocking discovery. And they see him as an outsider because he wasn't born in the U.S. He has a weird accent to them. I don't think this is what they signed up for. Once again, more of the find out era of fucking around. I don't think this man, Elon, should have any say in how the government is run. And already before Trump even gets into office, he's already killed a budget bill. Insane.
I mean, but let's talk about the absolute, like, ridiculousness and just, like, abject foolery that is going on here, okay? So, like, I mean, nobody wants to advocate for Congress to pay itself more, but, like, the average salary in Congress is $175,000. Elon Musk right now is in court trying to get himself paid $56 billion, right? Like, let us, like, look at the distance
it is
between
huge.
What he wants you to be angry about,
right,
and what is actually going on, like, in his own life, right?
Yes.
This is the thing, like, this billionaire Jedi mind trick thing where they're convincing, like, the 90-something% of us who are making, you know, normal salaries on, like, a normal bell curve or normal curve, and the people who are, like, astronomically, exponentially, like, going past you at, like, the speed of light, right?
Yeah.
Like,
yeah.
It's completely out of proportion. Now, I know, like, members of Congress are worth various millions of dollars depending on whatever,
like Nancy Pelosi,
right? Whatever unethical bullshit that they're doing. But, like, this bill was not even about members of Congress. This bill was going to give $100 billion in disaster aid. Like, we all remember October and November where, like, Tennessee, Florida, Georgia, North Carolina were being slammed by one hurricane after the other, like some kind of disaster movie. This guy is just like, oh yeah, you know, screw those people. And those are the people that voted for Trump, right? Like, those are the states that had, like, a majority vote for Trump to some extent. But this is the problem, like, even their own people, they're just more than happy to screw them over and then tell them that they're owning the libs. And those voters just are like, oh, yeah, it's the trans people. They're going to deal with them.
Yes.
Like, you're not getting your disaster relief. What is not computing?
It's big things like lying about a bioweapons lab and little things. I'm saying little, but he reposted something that said that the bill includes $3 billion for a new NFL stadium in D.C., and he said that shouldn't be funded by your tax dollars, which, first of all, I agree. Sports stadiums should be paid for by billionaire sports teams. I agree. However, imagine a billionaire whose multiple businesses rely on things like government contracts, some would say government handouts, telling you that an NFL stadium shouldn't be paid for with tax dollars. Sure, but we should send our tax dollars to SpaceX. And I can't. And also, even more importantly than that point, that was a lie. That $3 billion. It's a lie.
I mean,
I buried the lead. But the real issue is that is a lie. The bill was going to transfer jurisdiction of the stadium from the federal government to the city, Washington, D.C. It was not building a new stadium. But he posted this, and people started complaining. Americans started complaining about NFL stadiums. Like, I can't deal with this. I really can't. I don't know how we're going to survive the next, 2 years. I think, and I say 2 years because I don't know how long Republican majority in the House is going to last. We don't know. But I want to point out, I saw jokes saying Elon was going to be Trump's first lady. I disagree completely at this point. Yeah. He is not Trump's first lady. First ladies don't do this. And if they did, they would be yelled at because they're not supposed to. This is more than being a first lady. This is more than being a right-hand man. He's the CEO of America, and Trump is the president. And if you know how corporate structure works, that is not a good. That's not a good order for your president to be in, to the CEO. I can't imagine people think Elon is going to be good at this. And he's already proven that he's not by killing this bill. This bill was supposed to keep the government open through March. Just March. So we can, have an inauguration and start a Congress. How are we going to do that if the government is shut down?
I mean, I completely agree with you. First of all, the whole First Lady bullshit is just clearly sexist Lady Macbeth nonsense. To be clear, presidents have been shitty all by their bad selves. Got nothing to do with their, like, first ladies, okay? Like, let's put that,
I want to...
wife... Yeah, go ahead.
I want to say, they were saying it in a sort of way of like, because Melania is not going to be in D.C., so it's Elon's job. I don't think it was meant to be sexist, the joke about the First Lady. That's all. I'm just going to clarify that.
Yeah, but I think probably the more appropriate comparison is like he's just this unelected vice president, unnamed official that we don't have any precedent for, really.
Yeah.
But I agree with you, like, the Congress people will be fine, right? But the problem is that there are federal workers right now who are depending on checks, right? Holiday checks, that it's not going to get cut for them until Trump comes in, right? Like, literally the plan now, with the help of, absolute headbangers like Rand Paul, the plan now is to just, like, not do anything in Congress until after Trump comes in. And they're just saying that they're going to shut down the government. They're not passing anything. So everybody's going to stay in limbo until January 20. And we all know that nothing is going to happen on day one, despite what Trump says, right? And we have a country where many, many people are living from paycheck to paycheck. There are people who will go into debt, who will, like, avoid buying essential needs for their families until they get those checks that they worked for, by the way. Like, these are not, like, government, stimulus checks. These are their own salaries that they have to wait for because Elon Musk wants to, flex his muscles.
Yep. He got a, what's it called? He got a bee in his bonnet about it, and now the bill is dead. You say Vice President Elon. I think I'm going to stick with my CEO analogy because in the corporate structure, it's CEO, then president, then vice president. So that's what's happening. Because I don't think Trump on his own knows or knew enough about this bill to have any opinion on it. But Elon found out something that got him all riled up. And as CEO, he delivered his missive to his followers, and they followed the instruction. And, of course, the president followed in line because when the CEO says something, that's what happens. I think that's where we're headed. And I want to, again, I continue to say, I want to hear from MAGA. Is this what you wanted? We told you Elon wasn't donating hundreds of millions of dollars to this campaign for no reason. Here we are. Here we are. And sort of along those lines of looking forward to next year, what else do you think we should be keeping an eye on? So we got Elon as CEO and Trump as president of the United States. Good luck to us, because I want to say, if you're not a business news person, please look into the companies that Elon has been CEO of and see how that turned out for the employees. Not great. But what else should we expect to see next year?
I mean, one of the sort of brain dead narratives about Trump is that, he's anti-war, right?
Yes,
and
somehow.
That, somehow he's just this, like, peace-loving, person. Anyway, the Wall Street Journal released a report yesterday that his transition team is looking into preemptive airstrikes against Iran for their nuclear program, right? Like,
what? Oh my gosh. Yeah. Okay. That will go well, I think.
Right. I mean, to be clear, the Iranian government is anti-democratic, horrible in many ways, including to women, children, LGBTQ people, essentially, just a corrupt, government, and a brutal government, right? But, like, this is so funny to me because a lot of people claimed that they voted for Trump because he would not, send endless arms to countries. He would not continue the American war machine that we just have. And it doesn't change from Democratic to Republican. Like, everybody just keeps pumping more money into the war machine, right? But people convince themselves that somehow Trump was different. And we're about to find out real quick that, like, Trump is not.
I mean, no surprises there.
All of the things that he thinks he's going to be able to do, such as ending the Ukraine-Russia war on day one, that doesn't look like it's going to happen.
No, it
that,
doesn't.
Yeah. He thinks he has some special bond with Putin, but Putin is just clearly playing him. Like, I watched an interview with NBC and Putin this morning, and he essentially said that he's actually in a stronger position going into negotiations with Trump. Like, it doesn't sound like a person who is going to be, buddy with Trump, whatever he thinks, right? Like, but Trump thinks that just because people suck up to him and say nice things to him means that they're going to roll over. And that's not what is going to happen.
No, it's not. And I think it's really important to highlight that we think, and I think Putin is out for himself. It's not even about Trump. It's about what Putin wants. And if he sees Trump as a useful person to get him that, then that's what's going to happen. And I think given who else is in the White House, Elon, people like J.D. Vance, some of the Republican Congress people who seem to think Ukraine should just roll over and accept what's happening to them. I think I think Putin feels like he has enough sort of sway. The propaganda machine has worked enough that he has the sway to get what he wants, which is basically Ukraine to just give up and stop fighting back, which they won't do. And so there will be no peace, but Trump will try. He'll try, or maybe he won't even. He'll say he did, and people will believe that he did, because that's how it goes.
Yep. He will not accept responsibility for anything. I mean, we all remember the 4 years when he was in office. He was always blaming one person or the other. He never really had a coherent, policy of anything, like the revolving door of chiefs of staffs, of advisors, on and on it went, because he doesn't actually have any ideologies. He doesn't actually have any plans. He's just like there because vibes and dictator vibes, right? Like, he just wants to be president.
He may not, but the people around him have plans. And he's going to be the path through which they accomplish those plans. People like Elon, people like J.D. Vance. Did you hear about the South Carolina Republicans that reintroduced a bill that would declare abortion homicide, which would then make women who do abortions eligible for the death penalty? That's what's happening because Trump is in office or about to be in office and has his Supreme Court and has his House of Representatives. There will be no more federal level, guardrail or protection, right, to stop states like that from instituting bills like that. You're going to have to figure out something on the local level if you can get enough votes in your state house. That's what's happening. Those are the people who have plans, who have ideas, and they will use Trump as their way to deliver on those. So, again, once again, this is what 49.9% of America wanted. So here we are.
It just goes on. And this is the problem, right? Like, it leads to fatigue, and it makes people think that, this is just another like hysterical response, right? Because the Trump administration, the first time around, was just one insane decision after the other. And we have already started that, cycle again, where like every single thing they do is just bonkers for no reason at all. And it's kind of like, feels like a purposeful incompetence. And this is the problem with covering Trump and his administration, wherein because every day is one disastrous decision after the other, it becomes really hard to get people to care about it.
Well, we are going to care. I think we should talk about sort of the podcast moving forward. We will cover Trump, sure, when he does something. But I want to promise listeners that's not going to be the only thing we talk about next year. I mean,
yeah,
like Olu said, that's going to be fucking exhausting. We are planning to stay balanced, stay even keeled. We are not going to become like MSNBC or like the anti-Trump podcast every day or every week. That's not our plan for next year. We will definitely talk about other stuff. This is just sort of our end of year episode recap. And turns out some of the news this week, a significant portion of it is about the administration. But that's not going to be our only focus next year. I think it just bears repeating the impact that this is going to have on people's lives. I think is going to be pretty far-reaching starting January 20th of next year.
Yes, and I mean, there's a reason why we called it the America's Brexit moment, because none of these things happen in a vacuum. This is not just about Trump. This is just this kind of trend across Western countries, right, where they're just lurching more and more and more towards the right over like bullshit culture wars and xenophobic fears, and their lives are not improving despite doing, all of these things. In the UK, they cracked down on immigration. It's been more than 6-7 years now. Is their NHS any better? No, it's just getting worse. Right? Despite being promised that the NHS is going to be better funded after Brexit. People keep getting sold this ridiculous pipe dream, and they're using that as a whistle to say that this is going to fix your economic lives, but that's not panning out to be true.
Yeah. I think the sort of theme in the Western economies and democracies has been like people's lives aren't getting better. So people are thinking and being told, why not give all the old stuff a try? Why not give dictatorship or fascism or right-wing ideology a try, since all this liberal capitalism hasn't made your life in particular that much better? But I think the message is being delivered in a way that really feeds into things like nationalism and racism. Because that's the thing that gets the most knee-jerk reaction out of people. And not just nationally, but like anti-LGBTQ like mentality. For example, there was a school shooting in the U.S. and almost immediately this week, unfortunately, it's kind of a normal occurrence here, but almost immediately the sentiment was they heard it was a girl, 15-year-old girl, and sentiment became, oh, she's trans. She wasn't. But that was the immediate reaction on the right, was that she's a trans feminist, and that's why this happened. That is not why it happened. She was actually extremely racist and extremely hate-filled, too hate-filled for a 15-year-old, and had issues at home that led to this. But the immediate reaction was, let's blame queer people with zero evidence. That's where we are now. And it's just, it's very unfortunate. We're going to be talking about this more next year as we, work through with the podcast. I want to say to our listeners, as we sort of get to the end of this episode, thank you so much for listening to us this year. This is a new podcast. We are also first-time podcasters, so thank you for bearing with us as we sort of learn how to navigate this, setting up our website, setting up a merch store, being on social media. Thank you for joining us over the last few months, and we hope that you will continue to listen to us next year and interact with us on social media, wherever you follow us.
Well, that is all from us this year. What a year it has been. Liz and I started this podcast earlier in 2024, anticipating it will be a crucial year for liberal voices. We had no idea how right we would turn out to be. We will be back in 2025, in mid-January before the inauguration. As always, you can find us on Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Spotify, and liberalbanter.com, where you can shop some of our merch. Happy holiday season to everyone who celebrates, and have a happy new year.